This episode of Inside EMS Podcast is sponsored by LogRx. Learn a better way to track your narcotics at logrx.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is Chris Cebollero and Kelly Grayson, the hosts of the Inside EMS Podcast, coming to you live from inside his house and inside the San Diego International Airport as we're on the EMS World Tour, traveling around, trying to develop the best EMTs and paramedics in the United States. But that's an interesting new startup, isn't it? I mean, it's something we've never done before, Kelly Grayson.
Yeah, usually you catch me on the road, and now you're on your Chris Cebollero World Tour. Who's opening for you, Bob Page or?
Yes, never. So heading in San Diego, heading to Oregon. Friday, I'll be going to Utah and back home to St. Louis. Then I'll have to go down to Georgia. So I got this new job and then a lot of traveling, meeting the new crews and, helping them to, understand who I am as a leader. A little bit different from what I'm doing. It's actually working for a company now called Quick Medic, who is as their head of operations, and they're using paramedics as urgent care for our healthcare partners. So
right
patients will actually call into the insurance company, and the practitioners will determine if a paramedic is needed for urgent care response. And then we'll give them what we need. If they need to go to the hospital, of course, we'll activate the local 911 system. But if anything that we could do for them, we'll do it for them, and give them what they need. So it's very exciting. But we're in 5 states, 11 EMS agencies. So I want to make the rounds and meet all the crews and talk about leadership and, what the vision is and how we're going to go forward and develop the best company that we can together. So it's been pretty interesting. How about your deal, man? I mean, I had to get a new job because you got a new job, man. And I don't know what you might want to take your glasses off, man. That ring light is really killing me in that reflection. There you go.
I'm sorry, I can't see it. No, I'm rocking with my paramedic class. They just got their 4th major exam, and their midterm is in a week or so. And man, by the end of March, we'll be done with the didactic, and I still have all 17 students that I started with. So
how are the grades?
Thumbs up.
How are the grades?
I know the grades are good. You got some. I'm giving them a little extra leeway because this is the first cohort of a brand new program. So all the kinks haven't been worked out yet, and so. And they're doing an accelerated course that no one in this area has ever been done. So just seeing how that goes. So
what's the curve? 50%?
No, I do not grade on the curve. I don't use cut score grading. I use pure raw grading, but I do a test item analysis, and the people that did poorly get a chance to review exactly why and then retake an exam.
Yeah, very cool.
So they're doing well. It's the normal breakdown. You got in every class, you got your world beaters that are going to make high grades no matter how pathetic you are as an instructor. And you got the people on the low end who have a little difficulty. They have to struggle and work for everything. And then you got the mid packers that are really going to be the where you shine as an instructor. So thus far, my cohort that's working along the bottom in the bottom tier of the class is still passing. So that's a good thing in my eyes. They're enjoying it.
Yeah, bring one of them students on, man. Let's talk to one of those students as part of a show.
I will get one of them on one day, and they can say all sorts of dirty things about me, and
I don't think they will.
It won't bear on their affective grades at all.
We will keep it PG-13, so we won't keep all the raw stuff. But
I've got a couple of students where it'd be difficult keeping it PG-13. They're kind of like me, that they use the F word like a comma. So we set up a swear jar on the board, and Kelly's swear jar gets so big, the class gets a pizza party. So-and-so's swear jar gets so big, he loses 5 affective points. Hopefully we'll both be able to curb our language a little better.
All right, well, put me down for $10 for the pizza party because I belong there too. So But, Kelly, so I think in today's show, one of the things, as we prepare for shows, we look around EMS, we see what's going on, hence the name Inside EMS. And one of the stories that caught our eye comes out of Orange County, Florida, the folks down there in Orlando. And this was, something that was January 30th, so just last week.
Mm-hmm.
And a Florida county launches live stream option for 911 calls. And, I do want to be able to touch on that technology. But one of the things that I want to look at as well is that EMS is really making strides to ensure that they can deliver the highest quality of patient care to the people that we need to serve. And they're finding innovative ways now to go ahead and make, sure that the members of the patients that we're going to see have the opportunity to get the best care possible.
Yeah.
And in Orlando, the, Florida County launches live stream for 911 option. And Orange County residents dialing 911 will have a text option that will allow them to live stream a video to the dispatcher. And I got to say, man, what a brilliant idea this was. And because I think that one of the things that is the challenge, and we talk about so many different things here. We talk about triage, we can talk about abuse of dispatchers. We can talk about making sure that we're triaging the right call. How many times have you got a respiratory distress call and you get on scene and someone bumped their elbow, but they were a little short of breath before they called. And now we're responding to a respiratory distress call. But now I think what you've done is you've created a human bond between people that can actually see each other now. And not only should this help the triage process, but I do think it does something as well for the abuse that dispatchers take. We don't talk about that enough, but these guys are getting, verbally assaulted because of the challenge that's going on the other end of the phone. So I think that there are a lot of great things that come from this. But first off, I think we got to say good on them for the folks down there in Orlando.
Yeah, I think that's an innovation that surprisingly you and I haven't really considered this until this showed up in the news, that we can leverage video live streaming technology to aid in the dispatch process. And I think it's awesome. How often have I jokingly said, I talk about poking voodoo dolls of my dispatchers with needles and everything. And I bash my dispatchers fairly frequently, but they have a tough job. And this kind of puts to rest the old quip that I make that, unknown medical man down is dispatcher code for riot in progress, because you really quite often you can't place a whole lot of faith in the dispatch information, which is not necessarily the fault of the dispatcher. They're working with limited information, limited resources, and panicky people. So I can see where we're having a video and being able to, turn your phone toward the scene. Let me see how many vehicles are in the road. And oh my God, is that vehicle on fire, and that sort of thing. You can actually, get a better idea, particularly if this 911 dispatcher has some EMS training. It's not just solely a emergency telecommunicator. I can see where that would be a really useful tool in triaging these calls. And if this works and works out well for Orlando, who knows where else it might lead. Prove that this technology is stable and we can leverage it appropriately. Who's to say that we couldn't have a special dispatcher or another line that you could hand off non-emergent calls to and segue into treatment in place, or a nurse help or a paramedic help hotline, and triage calls even more effectively that way. I think it's awesome. And I would really like St. Lawrence County to have such a thing.
Well, I think that one of the things too that you have to think about is, you're able to assist with CPR. You need to press a little bit deeper.
Yes.
Those types of things for people who are lost. Let me see your surroundings.
It's like, sir, that person is pushing your hands away. Stop the CPR.
He doesn't need CPR. Stop. Get your hands out of his pockets. Right.
And now let's pause for a word from our sponsor.
Designed and founded by EMS professionals, LogRx provides real-time accountability of all your narcotics from cradle to grave. Reach out today for a demo and download the app on the iTunes and Google Play stores. And coming soon, LogRx will also track your medical supplies, equipment, PPE, and even vehicle checks. For more information, visit logrx.com. That's LOGRX.com.
But, but one of the things that's in the article, which really intrigued me that, I sent to you was, how about these people who are calling 911 for a pizza or calling them, because they're in the car with somebody who is, kidnapping them or won't let them leave or have just whatever it is, right? I mean, so when we think about the possibilities of where this can go and the possibilities of how this can help the people at the other end of the phone. And again, let's not forget the dispatchers who are doing the hard work. Man, there's so many different avenues here that this can become beneficial. I didn't even think about sending it over to nurse triage so the nurse can interact with with the patient calling on the phone where they can see them and, assess their breathing and, assess their circulation. And, let me see, go ahead and pinch your fingernail and let me see how fast it blanches back, But I mean, the possibilities are endless here, Kelly.
Yeah, and not just that, they mentioned in the article that someone doesn't know their exact location, and it's a fairly simple matter of, turning the camera, toward the nearest or walk to the nearest street sign and mark that, let me see that. And now you have an intersection. Or the technology out there is out there now. Question is, can we lever it in this fashion where, you can pinpoint people's locations by the time of the day and the position of the sun and all this kind of stuff. There are so many different, forensic photo experts who do things like can pinpoint pretty much where a photograph was taken, depending on where the patient was, where the position of the sun and at that time of the day and that time of the year. So this is something that can be certainly has the potential to be refined, or at the very least, we can add to the whole GPS positioning and location thing to further pinpoint our patient location and stuff. And I think that's my immediate reaction is to be fully in favor of this, but I'm also of a practical, pragmatic bent. I also look to poke holes in anything. How can this be abused? Where's the fly in the ointment? Because there's going to be one. The question is, which one is it? Where do we find it? And do we have a plan in place for dealing with the unforeseen?
Well, let's not jinx it yet. Let's not jinx it yet. You don't think? No, you just need a hug, man. You're just mean. You're just a mean person. But so this is tech that was developed by Carbine, a software company whose mission is to modernize EMS communications. And Orange County Fire allotted about $16,680 towards the planning and implementation of this software. And the way that it works, and again, you can check out the article, we'll post it in the link, post it in the show notes, is now when Orange County residents call 911, dispatchers will ask them a series of questions first and get some background information. And then the caller will then be sent a link via text message that gives them the option to begin a live stream. And after a year of planning and testing the software capabilities, Orange County personnel recently put the new new technology into play. And I think that, it's not something that it seems that they rolled out very quickly. It seems that they took their time. It seems that they checked it out. But, as you mentioned, though, there is going to be a fly in the ointment. And rather than, wish ill or kind of figure out what they are, I think we just let the opportunity figure it out for them, right? Because they're going to, obviously they're the first ones doing it, and they're going to be setting the standards for others to follow. Because right now there are high performance EMS systems who are reading this article, listening to this podcast, and they're saying, how do we put our hands on this thing? Maybe we should check it out. No one likes to go first. And cheers to Orlando, Orange County, for making this the first stop on the video EMS tour. We've joked, on this show about Instagram and TikToks and those types of things. But Kelly, I mean, we're starting to see advances that really we didn't even think about it. And the innovation of people in our field and the innovation of the vendors who are supporting us is just tremendous. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And, I just thought of another thing. How often are there calls to 911 for violence or whatever, and the assailant is no longer at the scene, or the victim is being abducted and no longer at the scene, or whatever. And with a phone call to 911, you don't have one or two crucial pieces of information. what the assailant and what the caller looks like, a physical description and all that. That's sort of thing that can be shared over data terminals with police officers responding, that these are the actors in this scene, the parties involved in this scene, to be looking for them, and I can see where that would be extremely useful as well. I just, this would be, not to mention this, we use 911 calls, recorded 911 calls, as training aids quite often. I imagine adding video component to that could also be a useful thing as well. Now, when are we going to get the camera pointed the other way? Because I'd like to confirm my suspicions that quite often my dispatcher is playing solitaire on the computer instead of answering the radio. I want to see what's on their screen. I really do.
You just can't help it, can you? You just can't help
you know
yourself.
what? I can bust my dispatcher chops personally and do it with impunity from up here, because they don't know me and I don't know them, and they don't know that I'm bashing them. But I haven't really experienced any bad problems with dispatchers. Either at Acadian Ambulance, when I was there were a few that were idiots, but for the most part, the system worked.
Stop it right there. I mean, you're like that old analogy of the frog and the scorpion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's what I do. That's right.
So
that's right. But I'm the frog in that analogy.
No, you are not.
I'm the frog in that analogy. The moment I trust the dispatcher, they sting me. And I'm like, why'd you do that? You're going to kill us both. He's, well, that's what I do.
I'm not doing that. I'm not saying that, man. So if you don't know the analogy, there's a scorpion that needs to cross this body of water, and he looks to the frog and he says, let me jump on your back and take me across. And the frog says, well, no, because you're going to sting me. He goes, well, if I sting you, we'll both drown. And so the frog lets the scorpion get on his back, and halfway across the water, he stings the frog. And the frog says, why did you do that? And why did he do it, Kelly?
Because I'm a scorpion.
Because he can.
What I do.
Right? That's what he does, right? And that's who you are. You're that scorpion. But anyway.
No, man,
so
I'm the frog in that analogy.
Whatever.
I'm all colors.
And go ahead and send us an email at the show at ems1.com. And let us know if you think that Kelly is the scorpion or the frog. But, I think this is a really great little show, and it's going to be an abbreviated version since we're in the airport and traveling. But I guess we need to talk about Sunday's game, right? So let's talk about the Super Bowl. And I'm picking the Detroit Lions to, do the best. And I was heartbroken for these guys.
So hard for the Lions.
I mean, gosh, man, what a heartbreaker that was. And I think the only thing the coach did wrong this year was go for it on that fourth down and didn't kick that field goal, because that last touchdown would have tied it. But, I since I'm in Missouri, I have to go with Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a Chiefs fan, but just to root for them. I'll have a house full of people who'll be rooting for them. And I never was a 49ers fan. A lot of my peers, a lot of my friends are 49er fans. But what do you think? What do you think the outcome's going to be?
I don't have a favorite in this. It's hard not to root for or not to admire artistry like Patrick Mahomes displays and playing. I mean, the guy can sling a football and do things that make you wonder how it's humanly possible. On the other hand, you got the 49ers and Brock Purdy, the former Mr. Irrelevant. If there is a thing that shows that the underdog can win and hard work pays off, it's got to be Brock Purdy. You got to root for a guy like that. And I can't root for the 49ers because of my formative years when the Saints and the 49ers were both in the NFC West, and Joe Montana and Steve Young made my life miserable as a Saints fan. So
Amen.
I'm going for if I can't have the Chiefs, the Lions, who I was really hoping, there's a city and a fan base and a team that deserves to be there, and nobody needs it or deserves it more. But I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I want to see Mahomes light it up and maybe a double overtime win by 1 point by the Chiefs.
Don't make it harder than it has to be. You see that? You're a scorpion. You're just a scorpion.
I don't want another Super Bowl blowout. I want to see a game like the Chiefs 49ers in Detroit,
That was a great
that
game to
went
the
down
end.
to the wire, man. A great game. So
Right.
that's what I hope for. And when I'm binging on Super Bowl Sunday and eating foods I shouldn't be eating, I hope I get to see a good game along the way. But
All
hey,
right.
that's what we think. We'd like to hear what you think. Personally, I think I'm the frog and Chris is the scorpion, but you can let us know otherwise. What do you think about the potential for video and live streaming video technology for 911 calls? We'd like to hear your thoughts at the show at ems1.com. And for myself and co-host Chris Cebollero, thanks for tuning in to Inside EMS. Going to catch you next week.